Welcome back. I'm Jody, and I am going to be going over a case study we did for a local liquor chain here in BC. And so this project was a hugely complex project, mostly because there was some conditions that needed to be met with local delivery and worked with inside their operations. So first and foremost, you needed to be able to pick your store. And the reason you wanted to pick your store is if you were in an area, you wanted to be able to order your product and then go and pick it up at that store. Well, we need to be able to route that order directly to that store. So we gave the option for people to go and select the store that they were shopping from and then set it as their store. Now, we tracked whether or not with a cookie to make sure that that store stayed with that person, but they were more than welcome to go and change the store up. Very similar to another company here in Canada called Canadian Tire. They have a similar setup, and we basically use that as inspiration for what we set up here for Cascadia Liquor. So you could go and select your store. Once you selected your store, it updated live on the site without refreshing the page. And then you could go and you could pick a product and you could search to see if that product was available at that specific store. So you could either have it pick up and available for store, and it would tell you where it was, and it would give you a list down below of other stores that you may want to shop at in order to get that product. Or you could have it delivered, in which case you could see if they had delivery in your postal code. So you could go and enter in your postal code and see if they had local delivery. Now, the way that they did delivery is they had a 10-kilometer radius in which they could go and deliver the products. One of the problems with that radius was if it was just within a 10-kilometer radius, there was some overlaps and there were certain places that they couldn't deliver to. So what we ended up doing is we ended up setting it by postal code. So for each location, we set the postal codes of what delivery areas were available to that. And we did that through a custom app. That custom app allowed us to really get specific on the type of search areas or delivery areas that people were able to get their products delivered to. And then what we did is when we added those to carts, let's go and do that. We go to view cart, and then we went to checkout. We created this experience which allowed them to either have it shipped or have it picked up. And if they were having it picked up, we would then choose the location based on what they had selected. So there are 11 locations. They could go and change their location, so they could use a location finder. So I mean, I'm not in that area right now, so it's going to come up and say none are available. But I could definitely go and choose the place that I wanted it to be picked up. Once that was picked up, I could go and pay for it, and it would allow me to check out. Now it has gone and logged me in through Shop here, so let's go check out as a guest. So I can show you what this looks like if you weren't logged in. So you can come through, you put your contact information in, and then you put your local delivery address in there. And then once you hit that local delivery address, then it would allow you to ship the product to it using local delivery. Once that order went through, what we would do is we would take that order and we would tag it with the location that it was coming from. So Cascadia Liquor knew how to route that order to it. We used a Slack channel, and we would direct each store had its own Slack channel, and if the order that came in needed to be fulfilled by that store, it would show up in that Slack channel, and they would get a notification, and they would know to go in and get it ready for when people came and picked it up. Worked really, really well. It was a super good one. Some of the problems we ran into when building out this experience. So early on, when we were building out this experience, we used a lot of very modern JavaScript frameworks. One of the things that we did not fully understand at the time was most of the people who are in this area, in the service area, it's Vancouver Island. It's off the mainland of British Columbia. And on that island, there's a lot of cabins there, and a lot of people there have older computers that they put in their cabins as just like email checking machines. And the problem that we ran into was those older machines used older web browsers, and those older web browsers would not support JavaScript, modern JavaScript languages. And it took us a little while to figure out what was going on and why certain errors were showing up, because it didn't make any sense. We couldn't test it on this side. And then once we started recording some of the sessions, we could see that their browsers were actually older browsers. And those older browsers like Internet Explorer, Netscape Navigator, which have been depreciated for a long, long time, but they still exist on these old computers, they were ignoring the JavaScript checks that we were putting in place in order to make a smooth customer experience. So once we learned that, we were able to reprogram the checks with older technology. So we were able to go and reprogram them with older JavaScript that worked on those particular browsers, which solved all of the problems of people being able to get errors when they checked out and increased the customer experience. Overall, it gave the people who were buying online a nice, smooth experience without having to force them to go and update their browsers, because a lot of these computers couldn't handle a new browser. They were already at the level that they wanted it to be. And because these computers were in cabins, no, they weren't going to go and buy a new computer for the cabin. It was just a leftover computer that they had lying around at their house that they would use for ordering. So anyways, that is the experience that we put together from a programming side. Now, from a design side, we worked with the company as well to create this beautiful design, as well as this really interesting way of choosing the type that you would want. So this was before sibling products were available, and we developed a way for you to select the different type that you wanted based on connecting two products together. So if you wanted the 330 mil, that's a different product than if you want a 6-pack of the 300. So you have a 6-pack or you want a 12-pack. Those are separate products, but they're showing on the same product page. And so this allowed us to do to track which product was actually the one that needed to be picked up. So it wasn't necessary. It looks like a variant selector here, but it's actually different products that are being pulled in. Let's see if I can find a better example of that. I know if we go, actually, let's go imported. I don't know if they still have, they might not have US products on. Yeah, they don't have US products being listed. Oh, there we go. They didn't have US products listed on their store because of the tariff war. So, if you were looking at, say, one of these products, Corona Extra, we didn't want to list two products in the store. So we didn't want to have a Corona Extra 12 bottle and then a Corona Extra 6 bottle. We wanted to be able to only show Corona Extra. And then depending on whether they want it in a can variation or they want it in the bottle variation, we swap out the product dynamically. And so when someone goes to purchase it, it actually adds the correct product to their cart. But from the customer's experience, they only get this nice, clean experience, which has the Corona Extra, right? And then the variant that they get to select. Anyway, that is a overview of some of the cool things that we did on Cascadia Liquor. It was a really great site. It worked out really, really well. You could also you could see the stores. You can see what their availability was in each store. So if you wanted to buy something and maybe you were passing through, you could definitely go and see live inventory, which really drove some higher conversion rates because people could go in store and figure it out. And the team there really built out a beautiful, beautiful, easy to use experience. So that's the full breakdown of what we did for Cascadia Liquor. If you're looking to do something similar, you can reach out to us on our website, use the chat, or you can give us a call on the number that's provided there. All right, that's everything for this case study. Hope you guys are having a great day, and we'll talk to you later.